So we got to talk about the fact that in the next 6 months to a year, it might get even worse to buy a home in Vegas. Right now, we're one of the most expensive housing markets anywhere. And I think it's going to become an absolute disaster and calamity because of the tragic, and I am not comparing increased home prices to what happened over in California, as you can see here. But because of the tragedy in California, I believe we're going to see a mass migration into Southern Nevada. I have numbers and stats to prove it. If you haven't secured a home, if you're considering a move to the Valley, if you're a first time homeowner, there's lots of things to help you. You need to get with a realtor yesterday because I have proof to show what's going to happen if those people in California don't rebuild their homes within 2 years, which is likely impossible because of the political nature and how slowly things move in California. And we also have data, hard data over what happened after COVID-19. My name is Steven. I'm not leaving Las Vegas. If you need a realtor, I want you to get with Brandon Giffen. He is an angel sent from heaven to us, helped me and my wife find a rental property, which was almost impossible in our situation. And he is one of the most ethical, amazing stand-up realtors I've ever met. I met him at church, of all things, but he won't preach the gospel to you unless you want him to. He'll just do what's best for you. So you'll find his information pinned up in the first comment of this video. And reach out to Brandon if you need any help or you have questions about relocating or buying or selling a property in the Valley. But we have to look at the review journal and let's read this article and then show you what actually happens and why these folks that are in California who have homes that are ridiculously well priced and tax structured might actually be moving here. And then let's look at the stats and the facts and the figures and what's going to happen to our Valley here. And for the record, I don't dislike Californians coming in. I just wish you would drive a little bit slower. And if you hated the policies you had, don't vote for those types of people here because you're just going to make this a lot like what you left. All right, fires to strain the LV market. This is the front page of the Review Journal digital edition. So this is the newspaper in digital format. And it says right here, we'll read along together. The Las Vegas wildfires will most likely put pressure on the Las Vegas Valley and our already tight housing market, an expert says. For matter of fact, we are now the 18th most expensive market. We're up there with cities like San Francisco. We don't have enough inventory. The homes here are inflated in price. People aren't selling their homes because interest rates are too high. So if they have a 3% loan from years ago, there's no way they want to sell their home and jump into a 6.5%, 7% loan. So people are not selling as fast as they could, but it's pretty darn stable. Because wildfire damage and loss has often caused homeowners to consider relocating, it's likely some in Los Angeles residents are considering moving to the Valley. Sean McCoy, director and associate professor of the Lead Center for Real Estate at UNLV, he bases his statements on a 2018 UNLV study of wildfires in Colorado, where nearly 360,000 homes across 8 Colorado counties were impacted by wildfire. We'll get on to page 2, but before we do that, we have to take a look at what's actually what the problem is in California. So in California, this is one of the main things that are going to stress the situation in California. We have this thing called Proposition 19, and this was passed into law in 2020. And what Proposition 19 says is it says we're going to, in the case of a natural disaster like fire or selling a home, will allow you to transfer your current tax situation over to somebody else. And I mean, that can be considered a very good thing. California's Proposition 19 allows homeowners to transfer their property tax base to a replacement home within 2 years of selling the original property. This applies to homes destroyed by wildfires or other natural disasters. The issue here is that if you ask anybody who's ever tried to deal with government red tape in California, it takes a lot longer than 2 years to pull permits to build homes. So if your home burned down, but your home was assessed and its property value in, 2015 was $5 million, but the real estate market has went absolutely bonkers and now it's worth $15 million or maybe $30 million in some cases because you had a big celebrity move into your neighborhood. Now you're looking at going from $65,000 in property taxes a year. It becomes reassessed. You now have to pay close to $400,000 a year. That is bonkers. Nobody can afford that. Nobody wants to afford that. And people in California may be looking for better options. Let's continue on to the article right here and see what else it says here. So it says they had 18 severe wildfires in Colorado, and they had 18 of those between 2000 and 2012. The data tells us that the fire shocks the media. It's all over the news. Everyone is talking about it, even the neighboring states like Nevada, and the markets start to react. Los Angeles County tops the list of migration to the Las Vegas Valley. Close to 158,000 people relocated from California to Nevada from 2019 to the end of last year, making up 43% of all new residents to the state, the biggest out of any state of the nation, according to the Nevada Department of Motor Vehicles. So, yes, there was a huge migration that happened, and it actually started in 2020, and it really ticked up in 2020. We can take a look at this right here. You can see a list of states by net migration. This is between 2020 and 2024. Well, what happened in 2020? We had the COVID-19 virus. A lot of people, they moved to other places. And California was one of the most restrictive states in the entire country. If you remember, their governor shut down dining for a very long time. They had mask mandates longer than anybody else. Los Angeles County had vaccine mandates. You couldn't go into a Starbucks unless you had a vaccine in your arm and you could produce paperwork. My wife and I canceled a trip down to San Diego because they reinstituted mask mandates. We were going to go down for New Year's in 2021, and we said, if you're going to reinstitute mask mandates, why are we going down there when we can stay here without masks? Florida saw a boost of 872,000 residents. But that's not the number you have to look at. The number you have to look at is under this column right here on the right-hand side, and that's our net domestic migration per 1,000 inhabitants. So Florida has a much bigger population than Nevada. Much bigger, more electoral votes, more sway and everything. But Nevada had a net migration of 26.21 per 1,000, and Florida was 40. Nevada saw 81,386 new residents net migration. That's people leaving versus people showing up. And that puts us 11th out of this list, which includes other big states like Texas, North Carolina, Arizona, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia. These are all places with more population other than Idaho and Alabama. I think even Oklahoma might come in bigger than Nevada's population. And you can see at the very bottom of the list, we have California. California has the worst net migration. 1.234 million people more moved out of the state than moved in. And they had a negative net migration of 37.04. So what does this mean? This means that we're going to take a housing market in Vegas that already has kind of stabilized in terms of inventory, and we're going to be pumping in people from California who might think that this is a good place to be. And this is a great place to be. Just don't drive so fast and stop voting for those laws you don't like from where you came from. So Daryl Fairweather, the chief economist for Redfin, said that those looking to relocate from Cali to Nevada won't be decreasing their chances of losing their home to a fire in the future, but it will be more affordable. I don't understand this. If people move from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, it won't necessarily be lower fire risk, but better affordability. Well, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. There was wildfires, and I can't remember what state it was in, but, they were bragging, and V-Energy, our power utility company, was bragging that they were clearing out the brush along Kyle Canyon, and that's to the top of Mount Charleston. They get high winds in that area, as high as 100 miles per hour because it's a 9,000-foot summit. And they said, we just need to clear the brush around the power lines. This kind of thing doesn't happen as much in Nevada because we don't have laws that prevent us from clearing brush from power lines. So a spark is much less likely to ignite the tinder dry conditions there that we have nearly year round. Yeah, I don't understand. Housing stock has been depleted by the fires, and households that have lost their homes need places to live. Some of these people will leave Los Angeles because they have been priced out. And LA renters who are on the margin of being able to afford to rent a home in an area will also be priced out and move elsewhere. Yeah, so people are going to be priced out. There's insurance companies that don't like to pay claims. There's people that need a place to live. They're going to be displaced for up to 2 years. They may come to Nevada, rent a home. They might come to Nevada and figure they'll sell their land to this Gavin Newsom, who wants to do a so-called Marshall Plan in California. Marshall Plan was what they used to rebuild Europe. And it was a systematic pouring of money into Europe, and they rebuilt Europe. So he wants to rebuild. But will these people stick around for 2, 3, 4 years to rebuild their lives? That's the question. McCoy said his study showed home prices in wildfire-prone areas fell immediately following a fire. However, they largely rebounded within 1 or 2 years. This is going to be ripe for speculators to come in and buy up land. That's what's going to happen here. And we don't have to decry those people or say that they're bad people, but they have the means to do it. And crisis brings opportunity for many folks. It happened in 2008. People were losing their lives and people were buying the dip in the housing market. But homebuyers still place a premium in homes in desirable areas that have views or close to water, dense vegetation, and mountains, which means many of the Los Angelinos homes impacted or destroyed by the wildfires could be built back at higher values given general market dynamics. Over the past week, wildfires, largely the Eaton and Palisades fires, have destroyed thousands of homes and killed at least 24. According to the reports, more than 92,000 Los Angeles County residents are under evacuation orders. An additional 89,000 are under evacuation warnings, and more than 12,000 structures have been destroyed. I'm not playing politics when I say this to you, but listen to me carefully, okay? People can only live under certain conditions for so long, and then those people will move. And if we learned anything from the last fall in the election that we went through, and that election cycle, it's that there's a lot of people who are more in the middle than anything else. People are in the middle. They're facing a tipping point. They can tip to the conservative way. They can tip to the not to the more liberal way. And a lot of these people just don't care anymore. They can't live under some of the policies and the years and years to rebuild things, and they're going to look for a different life somewhere else. And that doesn't mean that they're going to go conservative. It just means they're going to move somewhere else with more opportunities. And Southern Nevada is one of the most popular destinations. Impact on the Las Vegas rental market. This is what I was saying earlier. I haven't read this article. It's my first time. This is recorded as read. Read as recorded. I'm not editing this. McCory said there could also be impacts on the local rental market. Does displaced residents look for places to live? We may certainly see the fires in LA place upward pressure on rent locally in Las Vegas, both as a result of displaced LA households whose homes were damaged, but also from two other important groups: households near the wildfires, but that were not directly affected by the fires, may now hold a heightened sense of awareness or concern of potential future fires and act on that heightened awareness by moving out. In other words, what he's saying is this may be the straw that breaks the proverbial camel's back. This might gets some people to the tipping point where they decide that, like Popeye once said, I stands all I can stands and I can't stands no more. The wildfires may also discourage people who are considering moving to Los Angeles and push them to consider alternative areas. I don't understand why this so-called expert didn't just look at the stats and see that we have an obvious trend where, as we saw in our net migration list here, we have a net migration of 37 per 1,000 moving away from California in the last few years. And we have a net migration coming in to Southern Nevada of a net of 26. These are obvious stats. This guy's the expert. I'm a YouTube talking head. Fair enough. Fairweather said there will most likely be a modest impact on rental and home prices in Las Vegas Valley because of the Los Angeles wildfires. However, other areas will see an influx of residents as well. Las Vegas may be one of the places Angelinos move, but it won't be the only place. Yeah, they're going to move all over the place. They're going to move to Arizona. They're going to move to, Florida. Yeah. What is Las Vegas's fire risk? Well, he was saying we have just as much a risk as fire, which I don't agree with. Las Vegas homes actually have a higher risk for major fire, okay, over the next 30 years, according to First Street, which analyzes the relationship between climate change and financial risk. Well, there it is, climate change. Redfin ranks the Las Vegas Valley as 7th highest metro in the county when it comes to its share of properties that have a high fire factor risk, ahead of Los Angeles, as approximately 26,546 homes in the valley right now have a high risk of being lost in a wildfire. Okay, fair enough. Now, this is not the main reason. Climate change is, I know you're watching this. You might click out. You might get mad at me. I got to be myself here. Climate change is not why most of California blew down. They have had San Bernardino winds. That's funny. Santa Ana winds have come through this time of the year for generations and decades. And as long as before there was even human beings in California, there's been these Santa Ana winds. This is a sake of not having pressure in the pipes, of hiring maybe the wrong people to do the job in a lot of cases, of having a 117 million gallon reservoir that was completely empty. This is not necessarily what they say it is. Now, you can blame climate change. The climate is changing. Any anybody who says it's not is a darn fool in my books. I mean, if I take a species that's not supposed to be in an area where they can live, they're going to change that area. They're going to change the climate. Of course, humans change the climate. But this seems like it was a top-down issue that was preventable to the extent that it happened because of poor management from people who were paid, in some cases, up to $750,000 to do jobs and fail their jobs. But that's what we got here in the Review Journal, and I do feel like there is a big shockwave coming to the Las Vegas market. If you guys do need a realtor, once again, and you've made it this far, reach out to Brandon. He's a great realtor. He closes commercial deals, real estate for single-family residential, high-rise. He does a lot of buyers, but he is a seller's agent, true and true. There's no difference between the two. That rhymes, and I didn't mean to do it, but I think I do it all the times. That's my video for today. If you got value out of this video, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave us a comment below. Would you consider moving away from California into Southern Nevada? I'd love to hear your comments. My name is Steven. I'm not leaving Las Vegas. Now's the time of the video. I say 3, 2, 1, click. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, and click.